next speaker this evening is someone who has been helping businesses and leaders clarify their strategy and instigate sustainable change for more than 30 years throughout the UK, Europe, Australia, Asia and the Middle East. Overall winner of the inaugural Business Book Awards 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the author of The Change Catalyst, Campbell Macpherson.
Good evening. Good evening. Let me just adjust this. Good evening and thank you. Thank you to Daniel. Thank you to all the sponsors. It's an absolute honour to be back here tonight in this wonderful auditorium. It's bigger and better than it actually was last year. But I'd like to start with thanking Lucy particularly, and also the whole team, Kasim and his team at ThinkFest, and of course Alison and the judges. What you are doing here is a wonderful thing for this industry, and it's a wonderful thing for business book authors. So on behalf of the authors in this room, we'd just like to say thank you so much. You know, just to be shortlisted for these awards is fantastic. It's such an achievement. When I was shortlisted for the awards last year, I cluster bombed every single person I've ever met or known via email, social media. I signed up for Instagram, and I've hardly ever used it since, but it's just all over the place. You know, the generation Facebook, it doesn't really work. I need to be getting into Instagram. But anyway, everyone sent me emails and messages back than actually saying with such congratulations. They were so overjoyed and so impressed that the book had been shortlisted for this prestigious award. It's a really big deal. And amongst all the excitement tonight, just take a moment to say, do you know what? This is really cool. I've been shortlisted, I've achieved a hell of a lot, and give yourselves a pat on the back. Or, if you don't want to do that, I was going to say, turn to your left and pat the next person on the back. It's always a good way to meet people. Everyone in this room, we've got three things in common. Well, most of us in this room. Those who've written books have got three things in common. One is that we're published authors, and that is enormous. That is something that I dreamt of all my life. And I think it was probably 52 years it took me to write my first book. Actually, did you know Daniel and I went to the same primary school in a weird part of Queensland, and then the same high school in an even weirder part of Queensland, about 20 years apart, but still, there you go. That's where he gets his wonderful accent from. But we have three things in common. One, we are published authors, and Annie Knight, who's here tonight. Where are you, Annie? Hand up. Where's Annie gone? What? Yes, hi. Anyone said to me at my book launch, because Wiley published The Change Catalyst, she said to me, they only read 5% of the proposals that actually they receive, and they only publish 5% of those. So just being a published author is a fantastic achievement. The second thing we've got in common is that we are shortlisted for the Business Book Awards, and that is enormous. The third thing we've got in common is we've all shared this special moment that Daniel alluded to, when we've held our newborn book for the first time, where it arrived at the doorstep, probably by the stalk. I've got no idea how these things turn up, or DPD, one of those two. And we unwrapped it fondly, and we caressed it, and we looked at it. In my case, I was very excited at the time. We caressed it fondly. And in my case, I gawped at it because there was my name in big letters that's staring up out at me. And I smelt its freshly newborn pages. Don't they smell fantastic when they're just printed? And it was just a magical moment. It was a magical feeling. I flipped through and had a look at the words, my words, your words that you'd agonized over, that you'd written and you'd rewritten and you'd rewritten again. And there they were yelling at you. They were alive in a real book. It was just a fantastic moment. So just take your time back to that, and I can see quite a few of you grinning at the time. It is a fantastic moment. I had this funny, I can't believe it, goofy-eyed grin on my face that was just marvellous and made me realise why Victoria Beckham never smiles. I now realise that in moments of unbridled joy, I looked like a cross between those clowns you see you put ping pong balls into at the fair, and Clarence the Talking Mule. But anyway, my lucky wife. But it is fantastic to be back here tonight in this wonderful room. Last year I arrived with my son. My son accompanied me, and I knew nobody whatsoever. Just absolutely no one, apart from Ian at Bloomsbury. Where's Ian? And even then, that had nothing to do with work or books. He was a friend of a friend. We'd met up in Abu Dhabi once. So I knew absolutely no one. And the thought of actually winning anything didn't even occur to me for 1 second. I was just here celebrating the fact I'd been shortlisted for the Business Book Awards, and I was so excited. I saw all the books outside, and I couldn't believe that mine was amongst them. I really didn't expect to win anything. Neither did my wife or my daughter, who had flown to Australia the day before, which was very supportive, and neither did my publisher, because Wiley didn't take a table last year, thinking, well, Campbell's not going to win anything, you know. What does he know about change? Anyway, so that was marvellous. So the thought of actually winning something didn't even occur to me. I was just thrilled to be in a ballroom full of authors and for me to think that I actually belonged. And that was the most surreal thought that I think, until that moment, I've ever had. But the night was about to get a hell of a lot more surreal, because I then sat down at the table, and I'd like to thank Eloise Cook from FT Pearson. Eloise, are you here? Eloise Cook? Is that right? Yes, there you are. Hi, thank you for accepting my son and I on your table last year, accepting a couple of strays. We had a great time. I think the table won half the awards, actually. It was a really good table, that's it. Anyway, thank you for accepting us there. And we sat down, and then the leadership category came up. And I was so excited. This was great. And my book was up on the screen. And then the category before that, the very first category, it was announced to such professional fanfare. And the author who won got up on stage and gave the most amazing speech. And all that I was thinking at the time was, gosh, I hope the other 6 category winners know they have to give a speech, or they're going to look like real numpties. As I'm searching for another glass of Prosecco, and my son's poking me like, you're in the book awards. You know, we were being so childish. It was fabulous. And then the leadership category came up, and the book was there, and it was all just fabulous. And then what I couldn't believe is it won. And you could have bowled me over with a feather. And then I was a bit numb. There was a whirlwind happening. Suddenly I was up here. Suddenly I was saying something. I've got no idea what it was. Nadine was saying something nice about my book. And then I was out there to be interviewed, and then there was photos. And then I was back in, sitting back at the table and clapping every other author. But I was in sort of robot, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this has actually happened mode. So then the big one, the Business Book of the Year Awards. And each of the finalists, the category finalists, appears on the screen. And then I turned to my son and said, shit! And he went, what? And I went, I think it's going to win. And he went, what? No. And anyway, so I reached for the program and had to memorize everybody's name in about 12 seconds. So there was Lucy, and there was Kazim, and there was Alison, and there was Nadine, and there was Simon. And so they got up on stage and didn't look like a complete numpty. And actually, my whole world tilted on its axis, ever so slightly. It was a wonderful, wonderful moment. And that was the next photo that we were going to see. And now you probably see me grinning like a horse with a ping pong ball in my mouth. But we'll do that later. But the surreal moments didn't stop then. The surreal moments kept going, because I then went from here to the airport and then flew to Vegas to speak at an insurance conference, as you do. So I got a photo of me and the award, grinning like a Cheshire cat again, outside the Aria Hotel and Resort at Vegas. Then it was off to Palm Beach to speak at a mergers and acquisitions conference, and that was at Trump's Mar-a-Lago Hotel. So I've got a picture by the pool at Trump's Mar-a-Lago Hotel. And by the way, that is the most expensive, tasteless place I've ever been to in my life. Who would have thought? Then it was off to Sydney. This really was a world trip. I was going to see the family couldn't make it here. So off to Sydney, got a picture of the Opera House. It was a bit like someone had stolen your garden gnome and taken them on a holiday. And they were sending photos back of what a great trip we had. So I thought, this is really going to be a bit tacky. Otherwise, there will be a slideshow here tonight of Campbell's holidays with his trophies. So we didn't go there. But the big question is, what has it done to change me, change my life, change my business? And the answer is a great deal. 3 weeks after winning the award and cluster bombing everybody that I'd ever met via email and social media, yet again, Henley Business School sent through the contracts to be an executive fellow at their education department, and I now do leading change programs for all sorts of companies via Henley and also companies directly as well. Speaking agencies signed me up for lots of speaking roles, which was fantastic. Then I was off to Singapore, I was off to Sydney again, I was off to New York, London and Liverpool, strangely enough. And Marrakesh, that was a really, really weird one. But anyway, that's time for that's for another time. So what it also did is it meant that publishers are now wanting to know what it is that I've now got up my sleeve. They're willing to have another look at my next book. So the next book obviously has been written, and it's with several publishers as we speak. It's called The Power to Change. I think it's better than The Change Catalyst. It's tighter, there are more laughs. But anyway, enough of the promo. Book 3 and 4 is also in the pipeline, just in case you were wondering. And that is also with several publishers. My agent actually was pitching it to several global publishers at London Book Fair 2 weeks ago. And that is a sentence I never dreamed that I would ever utter in my entire life. When I started the latest incarnation of my business, I looked at it as like a solar system, that my consulting was the sun, and around it was a business school, a book, consulting, sorry, that was the sun, was speaking engagements, was workshops, and was a non-executive directorship. And every single one of those have come to fruition since winning the Business Book of the Year awards last year. And I hope you realise that is applause for you, Lucy, not for the fact that my planets actually happen to come into alignment. But one of the biggest things that it actually gave me is a confidence in my writing. I was an author, which still blows me away, but I'm confident in my writing because my book, because your book, because my writing, because your writing has been judged by people who know what they're talking about and has been judged to be exceptional. And that's what tonight is all about. And it's not giving yourselves a pat on the back, it's actually raising several glasses of Prosecco for that, because that is a fantastic achievement. Enjoy tonight, enjoy the moment, because there's going to be several of them. Enjoy the moment. And I hope that tonight is the start of an adventure for every single one of you. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for Campbell. Thank you so much.